pretty dramatic is happening right now in American foreign policy. We're seeing the US very deliberately pull back from the world stage. So what happens when a superpower decides to retreat? And maybe more importantly, who, if anyone, steps up to fill that void? Let's get into it. Okay, let's start with a number, 66. That's how many international organizations the US has announced it's leaving. Now, this isn't just some small policy tweak. This is a fundamental rethinking of America's role in the world. And get this, almost half of them, 31 to be exact, are part of the United Nations. We're talking about groups that deal with everything from global health to climate change. And the official reason for pulling out? The claim is they just don't serve American interests anymore. A White House fact sheet really lays it out there pretty bluntly. The administration views these organizations as a threat to U.S. sovereignty, a waste of money, and even a platform for hostile agendas. So, yeah, this is a very calculated top-down move. Now, you can imagine this U.S. retreat has led to a huge assumption in the world of international development that a massive power vacuum is just opening right up. So the question on everybody's mind is simple. Who's going to step in? You know, nature abhors a vacuum, and international politics isn't any different. When one big player leaves the field, you'd expect another one to run right on. And the immediate answer, the one you hear over and over, is China. The thinking goes that Beijing will jump at this chance to expand its global influence, flex its economic muscle, and basically become the world's new aid superpower. But is that what's actually happening on the ground? Well, here is where the story takes a turn. Experts are saying, surprisingly, no. Alexander Dan from the Lowy Institute puts it very clearly. A systemic replacement by China just isn't happening. The big takeover everyone predicted hasn't really materialized. So what gives? Why the hesitation from Beijing? Why wouldn't China want to capitalize on its biggest rival taking a step back? Well, the reality is a lot more complicated than you might think. For starters, just look at the money. The old budget for USAID, the main U.S. aid agency, was a staggering $65 billion. China's entire aid budget, about $3.5 billion. I mean, that is a tiny fraction. They simply don't have the cash to make up that kind of difference. And it's not just about the money. China has its own serious problems at home. Its economy is slowing down, and with poverty still a major issue there, spending billions more on foreign aid is a really hard sell to its own citizens. Plus, experts say Beijing is highly unlikely to just pick up and fund projects that America designed. They want their own flag or stamp on anything they're involved in. And the evidence on the ground backs this up. After interviewing 10 different experts, not a single one could point to a project in Asia where China has just stepped in and replaced USAID funding. There was one exception, some emergency relief after an earthquake, but for the big, long-term programs, that void is still there. So if China isn't stepping in, what's next? Well, the conversation is starting to shift. Instead of looking for another country to take over, some are suggesting a completely new model for aid, and it's sparking a pretty fierce debate right here in the U.S. At the center of all this is a concept called market-led development. The big idea is to move away from traditional government handouts and focus more on commercial partnerships. It's a model where you only pay for results you can actually see. And, this is key, you treat developing nations as peers and trade partners, not charity cases. And the poster child for this new approach is a company called Zipline. They're an American company that uses drones to deliver medical supplies. They've really become the face of this strategy, even landing a huge $150 million grant from the State Department to expand their work in Africa. Caitlin Burton, the CEO of Zipline Africa, puts it like this. The goal is to invest in a way that builds self-sufficiency and mutual respect. She argues this is a huge change from the old model, which she believes can sometimes undermine local governments. But, and this is a big but, not everyone is celebrating this new direction. It has kicked off a really intense, high-stakes debate with two completely opposite views on what happens when you dismantle the old aid system, and the disagreement could not be more dramatic. On one side, you have Zipline's CEO, Caitlin Burton. She claims that in the countries where they operate, when USAID's supply chain fell apart, things got better. On the complete other side, you have Mike Henning, the president of the USAID Workers Union, who says that same event caused massive death and destruction. And the stakes in this debate are really measured in human lives.
Some experts estimate that pulling apart USAID's global health programs could lead to the deaths of over 14 million people. This isn't just a policy debate, it's a matter of life and death on a massive scale.
But Burton comes back with a really provocative counterpoint. She asks, why, after 65 years and billions of dollars in U.S. investment, were these health systems so fragile that they just collapsed the moment that support was pulled? It's a huge challenge to the effectiveness of the entire way we've thought about foreign aid. And that brings us right to the heart of it. Are we watching the birth of a smarter, more sustainable way to do global development? Or is this a reckless gamble that could cost millions of lives? The answer to that is going to shape the future of foreign aid for a long, long time.